Welcome back, friends. This is Velma from Leaders Pathway, where leaders go to grow. Now, let me ask you something here. Have you ever sat in a meeting where the boss just kept talking and talking and talking, and by the end of it, no one knew what they were supposed to do? Yeah, me too. No one likes those kinds of meetings. And here's the unspoken insight that I want to share with you. Bosses talk to be heard. Leaders write so others can move forward. Words, my friend, when they're spoken, they can inspire the moment. They have power. But words that are written, they guide, they clarify, and they show up for your team when you can't. And you know what else? Words that are written down stick long after you've left the room. But here's the problem that most leaders make. Most leaders mistake noise for influence. The louder you speak, the more powerful you feel, until everyone forgets what you said 10 minutes later. In fact, research shows that once the meeting ends, people forget about 90% of what you said. 90% about what you said. I mean, ouch, right? Spoken pep talks are nice, but written guidance is useful. One will last a moment. The other will last a career. What doesn't get forgotten? I'll tell you what doesn't get forgotten. The email that you send, the handwritten note you leave on a chair, or the sticky note on a monitor that says, "I believe in you." Writing multiplies your influence, my friend, and because it just lingers on and on. People can hold on to your written words. It gives your people something to return to when their confidence dips or confusion sets in and they're just not sure what to do. Now, let me give you a heavyweight example. Winston Churchill. And you might know this guy. I love to share stories from my British history. You all know I'm from the islands of the Bahamas. And so when the islands were first formed, we were under the British Parliament system. And so I've got a lot of British history. So Winston Churchill, former Prime Minister of Great Britain, during World War II, his memos and written directives didn't just inform his generals and ministers and troops, they shaped history. The generals and the ministers read Winston Churchill's concise notes, trusted those notes, and acted on them. Those written words traveled further than his speeches. And we hear about how famous his speeches are. But his words, they provided clarity in the middle of chaos for his team. And if Churchill could change the course of history with a written memo, imagine what a clear email or a short note could do for your team. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's the former Prime Minister of Great Britain. He knows how to write those memos. But that does not mean it can't happen for you. And here's how I know this is true. This is real for me too. See, years ago in my career, I was doubting myself after a rough week. You ever had one of those weeks when it's really rough? And my boss at the time was actually my leader, John. He didn't find a grand stage to try to fix things for me. He left me with one short line on my desk. He wrote this note: "You've got what it takes, Velma. Don't let this setback tell you otherwise." That's it. A scrap of paper lived in my wallet for years, my friend. Okay? Maybe you've got one of those handwritten notes right now stuck on the wall in your office or in your wallet or somewhere right on your desk that you pull out once in a while to encourage yourself. His written word was something that steadied me more than any hallway pep talk ever could. And John knew how to give good speeches and pep talks too. But that's the difference. The spoken word, it comforts you. The written word remembers for you. So the spoken word has power and it's important, but don't neglect the written word because that's what remembers for you. And this matters to you, my friend, because writing, it multiplies your leadership. It travels, it gives people reference, it reduces misunderstanding, and your written words become a source of trust. In a world where we have disappearing Zoom soundbite moments, written clarity is rare. And rare things, they get attention. And they get attention because they're valuable. So here's the big takeaway. When you write, you lead beyond the moment. Your spoken words inspire action in the now, but your written words will carry your influence into tomorrow, next week, and maybe even years later in your life and your career. This is where bosses and leaders part ways. A boss fills the air with noise, but a leader leaves a written trail of clarity, of encouragement, and yes, they leave a trail for direction. So, let me give you some action steps, and I've also written them out for you. So every one of my podcasts, you can go to velmaknowles.com and you can read the blog. So you've got the written words right there for you. And I always throw in a little extra stuff on the written words. So be sure to pop over to the blog, velmaknowles.com. If you want to email me, it's velma@velmaknowles.com. Oh, that's a lot of Velma. Okay, so here's how you could start leading by writing, my friend, right now. Let me give you 3 simple but fun ways. Okay, 1, send the 60-second email. That's right, 60 seconds, not the 5-paragraph, let me clear my throat email. No, send a one-liner that says, "Great work today, Susie. Great work today, John," whatever their name is, and then say, "I noticed." Write a quick, unforgettable note that they could receive now. Go ahead, you do it right now. You could pause this podcast and, of course, come back to me, right? Because you want the other 2 action steps. But send the note right now. Who's on your mind, and what is it that you can tell them in one line, 60 seconds or less, about how much you appreciate them? Number 2, leave a surprise note. See, on a desk, on a sticky note, or even scribbled on a coffee cup sleeve. I love those kinds of notes, right? Especially when it's filled with coffee. But write something that says, "You matter, I see you." Or, "I'm so glad I get to work with you every day." I'll give you, my friend, bonus points if your handwriting is barely legible, because then it feels even extra authentic, right? It's not like you tried to dress it up. And then number 3, after meetings, remember those meetings, write a 3-line recap. Now, don't think of it as, well, I'm the leader, someone in the room should be taking notes. This isn't notes. Everybody should take their notes in meetings and know what to do. But as the leader, you set the example. So after a meeting, write a 3-line recap. Say what we decided, who does what, and when is it due. Bam, that's it. No fluff. Trust me, your team will thank you for saving them from meeting amnesia. Because remember, 90% of what you've said in those meetings, people forget. So write those 3-line recap. What we decided, who does what, and when is it due. No fluff. Boom. Now, here's your recap. Okay, 1, speaking will motivate in the moment. So you want to motivate, absolutely. But writing multiplies your influence today, tomorrow, and in the future. And if you want to move from boss to leader, if you want your team, if you want your family, your community, and your leaders to see you as a leader, not as a boss, then start leaving written breadcrumbs for your team so that they know how to follow you. Remember, Churchill's memos shaped history. John, my leader, his note shaped my career. You don't need a war room or a boss title to leave words that matter. That's your challenge this week. Leave words, written words that matter. Pick one person, one moment, and put your encouragement in writing. And then watch how it sticks. And don't go too far, because next time here, right here on Leaders Pathway podcast, where leaders go to grow, we are going to continue in the series From Boss to Leader. And we're diving into the power of invisible advocacy. It's invisible advocacy. It's a game changer that Oprah and my own leader, Lynn, they both mastered this. You don't want to miss it, because you want to master this too. So until then, keep writing, keep leading, and keep being the most valuable leader in the room. This is Velma. See you next time. God bless.